Kia ora no whaea. So you were just talking about your whanaunga to the NFIP movement and what brought you to that kaupapa and the connections to us here in Aotearoa.
Yeah, I suppose he tino rangatahi au I taua taimara. Gosh, we've got 25, Kemara. And haere, me te take o te titi o Waitangi, me te etahi o ngā kōrero, kia huri te ingo tēnei wahi, te Aotearoa, era momo kaupapa. Engari, I tai atu au ki reira ka rongo te maha o ngā auwe mai nā iwi taketake, I whakaro au, oh, yes. Me he mea, ka whawhai tonu mo te treaty, te tahi rā, ka hara mai te tahi pāhu muru whenua. Wepu ia mātou, hakamate ia mātou, no reira, yeah. So, I think the 1980 conference in Hawaii sort of left a huge impression because it was a gathering of activists from tangata whenua to people who had actually worked in the nuclear industry and sort of unpacked a whole lot of myths and information that just made us, join, well, I don't know how to say it, but the nuclear-free Pacific became the nuclear-free independent Pacific. We put the I in the movement, the independent, I for independence, because for all of the indigenous people, like the take was bigger than the nuclear bomb coming down. It was actually for the nuclear industry to even operate. They had to tāhai whenua, tāhai moana, and whakahāwea, nā iwi take, and so it was bigger than actually the bomb. It was all that stuff about colonisation. All of these governments took lessons from each other on how to beat down the people, what policies you could share, what practices you could share to take more land, take more moana, penalise the natives for something. So anyhow, I don't know, it was such a huge impact, but also the futility of it. We had no money, all we had was this collective consciousness, and we all agreed to do stuff. So we came home. The Aotearoa delegates came home, we fundraised, we made T-shirts for Protect Kaho'olawe o Hana to make sure that Vanuatu had a nuclear-free constitution. So Aotearoa was number 3 on the list. It was the first one, but they only talk about us. So we all came back quite enthused. Yeah. So I think that was it. Was sort of, I was part of my life all full time for 10 years as a volunteer. Yes.
And what prompted you to run the first hui oranga?
Well, firstly we had to convince the local Māori and Pacific Island people in Kuaka that, following this kaupapa was good, because for them there were a multiple of other issues that were far more important. The daily grind, issues dealing with assisting our people. Having got to that, I sort of realised that we had to have a hui inviting delegates to come and talk about their take to us directly, to our people directly. They didn't want to hear second hand. They get it when they hear the speaker who's straight from the community, whether it was the Tahitian, the bombing of, the French bombing of Moriroa Whangataupa, or whether it was uranium mining on Australian land, or whatever part of the cycle it was. People got the story when they heard it first hand, not second hand. And so from that's how the connection was made. And people went, oh, they're like us. And that was the start of Te Hui.
Yeah, and so what are the kind of connections that you can see with what's happening today and things like the the AUKUS agreement?
Like I say, it's just it's the same old tricks recycled, repackaged. But I mean, if it hadn't have been for the groundswell campaigning done by local people to make Aotearoa a nuclear-free zone, it would have gone ahead. We would have been in the ANZUS agreement. And the fact that, there's still some elements of militarisation in our country that aid America and aid some of those superpowers. So this proposal to bring sneak AUKUS into Aotearoa is a bit of a backstab, really. So I think it's really important that people sort of campaign early rather than leave it to 2 minutes before, it happens. Because, I don't know, people like to have their little... We may have stopped the bombing of Kaholawe and the rim-packing exercises, but they're still having rim-pack exercises. So, haere tonu ana, they've got to have their war games somehow.
Yeah, so where do you see the future of the movement and the role of rangatahi?
Oh, rangatahi have to take over, really. It's got to be meaningful for rangatahi. That same fight needs to continue, and with passion, and hopefully, our movement was always unfunded, but I think that some of the issues that we were dealing with over 30 or 43 years ago are still there. West Papua, there's still taka, even dumping of nuclear waste. We stopped Japanese nuclear waste being dumped in the Marianas Trench, but they're still making decisions in Japan to dump in the Pacific Ocean, etc. So it's almost like the governments wait a few years and hopefully we forget and they just carry on anyhow. They repackage it, but it's the same thing. And that's why young people have got to, hopefully we'll pick up the challenge. And it's all part of looking after our taiao, climate change. And hopefully we can do a little bit more before we pass on about protecting our moana and our whenua.
What do you think some of the learnings are that we can take from the NFIP movement moving forward?
Embrace working with Indigenous people and their issues. It's not just a health issue. It's wider than that. It's also about the impacts of colonisation. I hate using that word because it's such a cliche, but actually Indigenous people want to be able to do things that meets with their tikanga, their beliefs in a modern environment, because things aren't the same as what they were 183 years ago. Things have changed. I'm sure our young ones can embrace that.